Hello guys, welcome to the Solution Architect Show. Your host is Ben Yu. In the first episode, I'd like to cover the reasons why I want to start this podcast, as well as what does solution architect do in their job. So I came from a software development background and I have been working as a solution architect for the last 2 years. I find the transition from a developer to a solution architect is not very easy. Part of the reason I believe is there isn't a lot of sort of training available to teach me about this transition. So I decided to start this podcast to share my learnings. So what does solution architect do in their job? In short, as an architect, we provide a solution to a problem. You need to know the solution architect is not a decision maker. We are actually an advisor to the decision maker. We provide our recommendation so the decision maker can make an informed decision. So once the decision is made, we will own the design to make sure it can be implemented. So in a project, solution design normally takes 5 steps. So the first step, which I call the understand what the problem step, which is you really need to understand what the problem you're trying to solve. Without understand the true problem, often you'll find the solution for the wrong problem. So this is going to be a disaster, right? So we try to avoid this. Another common mistake in this step is who do you actually ask to understand the problem? I believe you should not only listen to your project manager or business analyst or someone from your architecture team. You should really go to find out the person who brought up the problem in the first place, which I call this person the problem owner. So you really need to ask him to have a true understanding of what the root problem is. Once you understand what the problem you try to solve, then we move on to the next step, which I call the discovery and research step. What we're trying to do in this step is we're trying to come up with all the potential solutions to the problem. So often you will need to have a workshop with different stakeholders, that including your problem owner, that often from the business, and also the different teams from the technology department. So you really need to engage them early on so they can help you. During the workshop, you will ask a question like, what are the reasons why we have this problem? Is that because of processes or technology or something else? And also you need to find out what are the non-functional requirements, or we call the quality attributes that sort of that potentially could influence your design. Such things would including like the high availability requirements, the maintainability, disaster recovery, your performance or security. All the quality attributes that will influence your design. You often need to make some trade-off between this. You need to consult with the business to make sure they understand the implications of it. You also need to understand what are the constraints you have to solve the problem. The constraint could be a legal compliance, or you have to integrate it with a legacy system, or your company strategy. For example, that your company might have a cloud-first strategy that will definitely influence your solution design. You also need to understand sort of the other factors that could potentially influence your design. Office politics is definitely one. So I'm not encouraging you to involve in the office politics, but you need to understand them and be able to navigate around office politics. So once you get all this information, you should be able to come up with all the potential solutions. And that actually marked the end of this discovery and research step. Then we move on to the third step, which I call solutioning step. So the purpose of this step is analyze all the possible solutions that you come up from the last step and try to recommend the best solution based on the knowledge you gathered. This is a key step. This is what I spend most of my time during a project. So during this step, you will work very closely with your subject matter experts within your technology group or any consultant from your partners or vendors. As part of this step, you will need to complete your solution document. So in my workplace, we also call the solution document a high-level design. So your solution document is a blueprint that you can pass on to the delivery team to implement your design. So once you finish your solution design, you should circulate around to the wider team to seek for feedback. To actually conclude this step, you need to seek approval for your design document. So in my workplace, we have a approval forum called Design Review Board, where I take my design and seeking approval. So once you get the approval of the design, that actually marks the end of the third step. Then you actually move on to the fourth step, which I call the delivery. So you will work with the delivery team to make sure they understand your design to implement it. You also need to provide leadership around the delivery methodology. So you will work with your project management office. Potentially your project management office might already have a delivery methodology, maybe Scrum. Then you will work with them you will work with the delivery team to help them to break the project into small packages, like a user story, to help them to plan their delivery. So initially, you will work very closely with the delivery team. But once they understand your design, then you should step back a bit and only provide your support when required. So once the project team complete the implementation, this will mark the end of the delivery step. And then we can move on to the final step, which I call the project closure. So the purpose of this step is for you to check the implementation to make sure the delivery is aligned with your design. And then you also need to make any necessary update to your original design or any wiki that you have. Okay, here we go. In a nutshell, that's what a solution architect does in a project. Hope this will give you some understanding of the role solution architect play in an IT project. That's the end of the first episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.